Thank you very much, Professor Hart, for this presentation. I thought it was very interesting. Now, I'm trying to make sure I understood something. We've heard this morning from the previous speaker that the rate of addiction in the Philippines was lower than globally, right?
Yes.
And then you told us that there is a conflagration that is being made between drug use and drug abuse, and that in fact drug abuse in the medical sense of the word is actually a very small percentage of the overall drug use in a given country. So overall, if we were to quantify the actual drug problem in the Philippines, we'll have a very small, fairly small number if we take into account what we've heard this morning and what you've told us. Am I getting the implication correct?
You are.
Okay, so from a policy standpoint, I mean, even if it's a small percentage, it's still an important problem. It's still important for a society of our people. So from a policy standpoint, what are your recommendations, really?
From a policy perspective.
From a policy, yeah. You know, what kind of treatment, what kind of, what do we do? Even if it's a small percentage, what should be done for that small percentage of people who do have a real addiction problem? And what about the others? Do we just leave them?
Yes. From a policy perspective, so the first thing that people have to understand, that the drug problem is never about drugs. It's rarely about drugs. So if you understand that, and now you think about making sure you understand like some of these people who actually meet criteria for addiction and they have a drug problem, they also have mental health problems. And so you want to make sure they're treated. Those people are treated. That's one way of dealing with it. Then there are other people who may be addicted for other reasons. And then you will have to, the medical community will have to implement strategies that are appropriate for them. But the medical community should have that training to do this. This isn't complicated. That part, the most complicated part is the assessment. And those sorts of things should already be in place. But what is happening is that people are being identified as being problematic drug users, overwhelming the system, and then decreasing the likelihood of the people who actually need help from getting their help. And so when we think about what we need, what I would suggest we do is that we first understand that most of the people who are drug users don't need help for drug use. Now, that's not to say that those people, some of those people, they may have some other issues. I don't know what those issues may be, criminal justice, whatever. But the issues should not be conflated. And that's what's happening in this case. And as long as we're conflating these issues, we're going to decrease the likelihood of the people who actually need the help. And then we might have to actually admit, that the problem is not as large as we said it was. And that's a hard thing to admit.
Okay, I have a question, Professor Hart. Would you have any data on how effective rehabilitation of a drug addict is? Because I understand that drug addicts, those who have really the addiction, they tend